Hey everyone, today we're going to be doing the brakes in the VZ wagon and I'll tell you why after this. Alright, so car's in the garage and the reason why we're going to do brakes on this is today is Wednesday, tomorrow is New Year's Eve, and Friday is New Year's Day. And on Friday, me and my older brother are going to drive 1100 Ks and pick up 4 cars, and we're going to try and do it in 2 days. So we're going to go Vic Country, we're going all over the shop, and it's mountains, unsealed roads, and it's a hell of a journey. It's a 9-hour journey each way, so we're going to split it up in 2 days and stay over with Gravy, aka my dad, overnight, because they're his cars we're going to pick up. So there'll be probably 3 cold starts or first starts or whatever on some very, very old vehicles. Hopefully we can get them all to run. I think there's a 20s, a 20, 30s, 50s I think we're going to get. So I'm going to jack this thing up, get a wheel off, and then we'll go from there, eh? Oh, and I can tell you a bit about brakes too, because that was my job for 20 years, was building brake calipers. And especially these things, but we'll get to that in a minute. Okay guys, car is jacked up, wheel off, and now you only need 3 tools for this job. You need a 12mm socket for the bolts on the calipers, and you need a 18mm ring spanner to hold the guide pin, because that will spin when you try and undo the bolt. And then you need a G-clamp to push the pistons back in to put the new pads in. Now, this car is so damn heavy that I do have a hydraulic jack, and when I was jacking it up, it bent it. So I've had to go for the factory jack there, and I do have a stand under it for all you people concerned about safety. So we'll whack this off the bracket, and I can tell you a bit about these calipers. I used to work on the assembly line that made these things. So we used to have to pump out 600 of these a day, each shift, 3 shifts. And I'll set you up so I can get working, and I'll talk to you while we're doing that, eh? Okay guys, so I used to work at the PBR factory that made these things, and we used to do everything in-house, from casting to machining, you name it, we did it. We did have a name change a couple of times from PBR to Bosch, and then Bosch to Chassis Brakes, as the company started to run out of money, but they were there since the 20s, I think, and we closed up shop in 2017. So I worked there from 96 to 2017, and most of the time I was there, I was building calipers until the last 6 years. Then I got myself into the office and had an office job. So, all right, let's get this thing apart. So you want 18mm on the guide pin, and then you want to undo the guide pin bolt. And we'll get the other one loose. Now these bolts do have Loctite on them, so they will be tight. I don't think the Newton meters torque is that bad all up. I think something like 15 Newton meters, something like that. Not very much. And then once you've got it loose, you can just hold the guide pin and undo the nuts. Now, I do have pads from when I worked there, and bolts. I've got lots of brake parts because this is my specialty. So you want to wiggle the body off And then we want to just hold him over there because we don't want him to fall and break the hose or anything like that. So we'll put him in there. Now I think I've had this car for, I think it's 11 years, almost 12 years, and can't remember whether I've done them or not. But we've got special pads to go in this. So here's the old ones. There's a little bit of meat left, but not too much. Maybe 3,000 or 4,000 Ks, but this side was starting to make a noise, so that's why I've decided to give them a change before the big drive, the 1100 Ks. So just hold on a tick and I'll get those pads. Now whether these things have a shelf life or not, who knows, but these have been on my shelf many years before we finished up, but I've got special ones to go back in, and they're blue. So that's an old one compared to a new one. So you're meant to have this little chamfer here on the sides. This is just flat. And now the blue one, like the black pads, these are just standard pads. These went in Energy's Commodore, and even these things, because that's what's in it. And these calipers were made from VT all the way up to VZ. And the only thing that changed was, if you look, I think it changed in VY. If you look right here, see that little dot? There's a little hole machined in there. That's the only difference between the two calipers, and that little hole there means that they changed the seal groove profile, which did get, I guess, better braking performance, because the seal groove inside the caliper, which is inside the piston here, like around there, the two little seals, that is what brings your piston back after you push the brakes. That's what returns the piston back to the spot so your brakes don't stick on. So that's the only difference, was the seal groove change there, and a little, I think the seal groove used to be a 005, and then the part number changed to a 005S. Only difference. And when these things were first built for the VT, now you want to get these, you just clip them into the shims that are in there, and then they'll hold in like that. Now when these things were first built, as I was saying before, like this should be a gold anodized colour. They cut, we used to do all our anodizing in-house plating. These were gold, but the first ones on the VTs, the first run of VTs, they left them cast iron. So those things would be a rusty as shithouse now. So if you got a first VT, you'll have rusty brackets. But this would have been a gold one. And then we used to do cobalt plating, zinc plating, lots of plating. Everything we made, like we used to cast these housings in-house, in our own foundry. We had to, and I tell you what, that made the factory hot, I can tell you that. So when you want to put your housing back on, the middle of that goes into there, that clip there goes either side of that little window there, and that's about it. And then we used to have, the little old ladies used to do this. They used to sit there all day and they would rivet this little bracket on here onto this pad, and that's all they do all day. Rivet that onto that pad. Like these pads are the same, except that has a rivet on it. That's the only difference. See, that there would get knurled down. Oh, look at that. I must have changed it because I've got blue ones in it. Oh. Anyway, there were 3 different types of calipers that went on these cars. And these brake pads, and it used to have a different hose, used to be called a China. And we only used to make was 2 packs a week, something like that, which was 48 a pack, 96 calipers in a bin. And so I think they were for overseas cars. Nothing, because I've never seen those hoses on a local car. Oh, silly me. You've got to push the piston back in. So what you want to do is you get your old pad, put it in there, then you want to tighten your G-clamp up on him. There goes the garbage man. So we'll tighten him down and that will push the pistons back in. So you want to go all the way back. Push them all the way in. Right back. But just make sure you re-pump your brake pedal when you get in the car because you'll have no brakes. So they're going in nicely. And that's all the way return. So the clamp can come off. Old pad. You see pistons are returned back home. Now that, just make sure our hose is not tangled up. Should slip back on nice and freely. Push those guide pins in. Done. I have some new bolts that I managed to drop into my pockets. I'll just grab those. So, these are the bolts that go in it. A K437-107 with yellow Loctite. So these are brand new, unused. If you can see a used one. It still has Loctite, but the start of it's missing. So you want to put new bolts in. Now, these is what we used to use on front calipers. These sometimes on the front, but mainly on a rear. You used a 15mm nut with blue Loctite. That's just what we did. So we'll get these started in there. Then you're going to need your 18mm and tighten them up. And then you're done. It's a pretty easy job to change brake calipers. So if you haven't done it before, that's how easy it is. You want to get it fairly tight. And you've got the Loctite on as well, so that'll help. Done. Now, the reason we can't spin that is because we've got all-wheel drive and we're in park, and all-wheel drive you can't spin the wheels unless it's in neutral, hey? But it does move. I'm gonna just check all the boots and stuff under there, and before I put the wheel back on. And then we'll button up the other side, and then we'll check the brake fluid. We're gonna check the oil, the water, all that jazzy stuff, and it's ready for the big long road trip. Alrighty, let's fire him up and see if we've got any brakes, eh? Oh, straight to the floor. There they're coming back. This is why you should pump your pedal, because it will go to the floor. Now we've got a brake pedal. Check our fluid. And we'll see how it is, eh? Still nice and full, so that's good. Now, we'll just go for a quick drive around the block and we'll fill it up and it's ready to go on Friday. Now this is the V6 version, not the V8, so I think it's the 3.6 Alloy Tech. Very dirty. Alright guys, I'm going to wrap this up here. Thanks for watching, and if you've never done brake pads yourself, hopefully that helps you, and wish us luck for the big journey. Ciao, ciao.